Burning out on social media, it happens a lot. It has happened to me, and I see it happen all the time with entrepreneurs. So, I want to give you a content plan that actually works without leading to burnout. And before you roll your eyes and think, great, another rigid strategy I won't follow, hear me out. This content plan is what I would call ADHD friendly, and this is not in a clinical sense, but as someone who actually has ADHD. So if you are creative, or if you have a million ideas, or if you have a hard time focusing, you are going to like it because it works for people who just get bored easily, get distracted, and who struggle with rigid systems. And honestly, most entrepreneurs I know, ADHD or not, they are visionaries. They want to create, they want to build, they want to explore new things. So following a strict, inflexible content plan is just not realistic. So that's why I'm bringing you this content plan today. So you can customize it based on yourself, your levels of energy, and the goals you have for your business. Let's dive in. Hi, friend. Welcome to Content Marketing for Entrepreneurs. Want to market your business without burning out? Are you tired of spending way too much time just trying to stay consistent online? I'm Eugenia, but you can call me E. I'll show you how to create a sustainable way to show up online. Let's make content creation easier and way more fun. Grab your coffee and let's dive right in. Friend, before we get started today, I need to tell you something that might just change the way you approach your content forever, and I'm not even being dramatic. For years, I've been building custom launch and content strategies for clients, for companies, and while I love getting deep into the strategy and the approach, I realized something. Not everyone needs or has time for a 10-step master plan just to get their content rolling. I definitely don't at this point of my life. Sometimes you just need clarity and move forward with action. Not just get clear, but take action quick. So I created something simple that works for the long term. I love it because it is sustainable. It doesn't work just for me, but it's going to work for you too because it is based on you. This is a one-on-one coaching session where in just 1 hour, I'm going to help you nail down 3 content themes that actually fit your brand. We're going to get 2 post ideas per theme. So you're going to have 6 posts all ready to go. And you're going to stop second guessing what to post and start showing up with confidence on social media. And because I want to validate this format, this is the lowest price it will ever be. So if you've been feeling exhausted from trying to manage your marketing, especially social media, and it's starting to feel like a never-ending cycle of what do I post? Is this even working? This session is going to be perfect for you. The bottom line is that after 1 hour, you won't be staring at a blank screen anymore. And that's what's so awesome about this. You're going to have a clear, effortless starting place that makes showing up online so much easier and enjoyable. And again, this is a chance to get it at the lowest price it will ever be. So if you're ready to finally get unstuck, grab a session now at eugeniawu.com, and everything is going to be linked in the show notes below for your convenience. So if you're driving, don't worry, I got you. All right, back to the episode. Okay, this is an embarrassing story, and I can praise Jesus because my cringy texting days are long gone. But back in high school, things were not like that. So back in high school, before you had incredible texting capabilities like forwarding messages and screenshots and all that thing, you had to physically copy the text and send it to the other person. Like if you wanted to share the text with someone else and be like, hey, this is what the person said. And I would do that a lot. Like I would have these 2 conversations at least with the guy I was talking to and my best friend at the time. So just like with one, I was like flirting and the whole thing. And then with the other, it was like our back end operation where I was sharing what he was saying and my reactions. And she was giving me advice. No wonders why my high school dating life was not the greatest, because it was me basically using someone else's voice, but that's a different conversation. The thing is that this one time we were like declaring our feelings for each other, right? So this guy texted me something very sweet. I don't even remember what he said, and I copied it, right? Like my procedure of then sending it to my command center, to my friend. And I copied what he said and I sent a text to who I thought was my friend saying, "Oh my God, he's so cute. Look at what he said." And then I proceeded to paste the text and send it. After 2 or 3 minutes, I realized that my friend hadn't replied, which I found so weird because my friend was like an FBI agent. Like she was there. And I was like, why is she taking so long? I was laying in bed and I just opened my eyes. And I was like, oh my goodness, I sent it to the wrong person. Like I replayed the last 5 minutes of my life like a movie, went to the texts, and indeed, I had sent the whole like, oh my gosh, look at how cute, the blah, blah, blah. I had sent that text, instead of sending it to my friend, I had sent it to the guy. Like I told him like, oh, look at how cute. This is what he said. And sent the text. It was so embarrassing. The guy didn't even know what to say. So I guess my reply was like, well, that was awkward and whatever. Clearly that relationship didn't go anywhere. So I am putting myself in this embarrassed position because I do have a social media analogy to make. Because for years, the social media advice, as I was thinking about it and remembering this story, I was just like thinking about how the advice for social media was just like go all in, spend hours DMing people, create content that goes viral, jump on every trend. And even back in 2020 and 2021, everyone was dancing on reels with trending songs, and myself included. I loved it. I loved it. I'm not gonna lie. It was fun for a while. But let's be real, like the pressure to constantly keep up was exhausting, and it carried on, I think, to the present. So I don't want you having 1,000 conversations, 1,000 things, and just wearing 1,000 hats at the same time, because eventually you're going to mess something up. And, at the time I thought texting that to the guy I liked was the end of my world. Clearly it wasn't, but that's what I thought at the time. So I want to save your sanity. I want to help you fix that. So here's where my no burnout content creation plan comes into play. This is a strategy that is actually sustainable, that works with your unique energy levels, and most importantly, makes social media fun again. So the first part of this plan is to start with knowing yourself. And I know we've all done the journaling and the filling in the blanks and the self-awareness, and I get it. I've done it too. But I feel like we sometimes get a little too superficial with these questions, because even before we start thinking about your content strategy, you first need to understand yourself. Like I don't like, looking back, I don't understand how I am a development junkie, how I never use what I learned to build my strategy, right? So I would love for you to take the time to understand, why are you doing this? What moves you? What are your strengths? If you don't know your strengths, by the way, Gallup and Clifton Strengths, that's the best resource. Like nothing better. That's the best. If you can, invest in a coach. I worked with Laila Fuenmayor. She's in Spanish, but she's fantastic. So I'm going to put her info below. But seriously, understand, how do you naturally show up in life? Like social media is part of your life. It's social media. So it's social. So how do you show up socially? Like take time to understand that. Because if your content plan isn't aligned with who you are going to burn out trying to fit into a strategy that doesn't work for you. It's not that the strategy is bad, that it's old school or whatever. It's just, it doesn't work for you. Instead, I want you to build a you first content plan. And this is not about being selfish, because I know that if you're listening to this podcast, you're very passionate about your topic of expertise. You really want to help people. You really want to reach people. You really want to have an impact. But when it comes to your social media, because it is so social, you need to be, and you're building a personal brand, right? This is not the corporate account for Asana or like, a company. This is you as a person. So it needs to be you first. So you need a plan that's going to reflect how you naturally connect with people online and offline. So you need to ask yourself some questions that I really love, that I think are key to cracking the code for yourself. Do you love teaching and breaking down complex topics? Sometimes people do, sometimes people don't. And sometimes people are just not talented at it and people never understand. And sometimes people are just impressed by the way you explain things. Are you more of a lifestyle sharer? You enjoy documenting everyday moments. There's this pressure and this kind of love-hate relationship with sharing your kids. Well, I don't want to talk about sharing kids because there's a big ethical issue right now with family vloggers. I'm talking about, sharing a picture of you in the park with them, something where they are present in your online world, and sharing your food. Like, is that something that makes you comfortable, or is that something you think you need to do because you saw someone else do it and then you're copying their model? Or maybe you like being more polished and more structured, right? Are you a person that really likes that structure and you really thrive with having a very strict routine that really frees up mental space for you? Or do you prefer keeping things very casual and conversational in your interactions? I'm not talking about social media necessarily. I'm talking about your social life. Like, are you a person that's very polished and structured and, let's go have coffee from 3 to 3:30? Or are you very casual and conversational? Knowing all these things is going to make content creation easier for you because you are not going to feel like you're trying to force yourself into a mold that doesn't fit you. Then I want you to define your messaging. After you have taken the time to know yourself, define your messaging. And this is what makes your brand stand out and connect with the right people. This is a mix of who you are and what you're good at. And this is something we did in the previous step. And now we're going to incorporate what your audience needs. We said this was going to be a you first approach, but it is not you centered approach. We need to take into consideration your audience. Like that combination, like that mix of both is going to be really, really powerful. Because if you are just posting content randomly without a clear angle, using your social media as your personal diary, especially if you're using social media for business, right? Like this is the focus of this podcast, content marketing for entrepreneurs. So we are building a business, a brand at the end of the day. So if you're just posting content randomly, there's no connection, there's no angle, there's no message behind it, your audience is not going to feel connected to your brand. They may like you, but you are not going to see the growth and the connection that you would like to see. So messaging, and there, oh my gosh, there are some incredible experts on messaging. I want to bring you some, but in basic terms, it helps position yourself, like position you as the go-to person in your niche. And for you to be the go-to person, people need to know what they're going to, if that makes sense, right? So how do you do this? You need to think about what are your audience's biggest struggles and desires? How do you want people to feel when they engage with your brand? And how are those perspectives that you are sharing influenced by your core beliefs? For example, I really value beauty, and we could have a whole conversation on beauty, but I see beauty as more than just, oh, let's have a facial. Beauty is harmony. Beauty gives peace. Beauty gives calm. Beauty makes you feel at ease, at a space. So I really love beauty. Beautiful relationships also make you feel at peace. So I really love beauty. I really value that. And part of this beautiful experience is having harmony. So that belief that I have and that value that I have on beauty influences the way I see social media as something that needs to match your lifestyle, needs to fit you, needs to be anti-hustle, because if something is draining you, it's not going to create that beautiful, harmonious environment. At the same time, I really believe in responsibility, fulfilling your word. And the times where I don't fully do what I say I'm going to do, that really affects me. It really, really messes up with my mind. So I really try to stay true to my word and be mindful of the commitments I agreed to. This perspective that I have also shapes my desire to be consistent on social media because I am saying, hey, you are going to experience this from me with my podcast. This is what you can expect week after week on my podcast. So those beliefs influence the way I show up, my perspectives. Your social media, your content should be harmonious. It should be consistent at the same time. When you get clear on your messaging, you create I hate to use this word, but you create a vibe. And yes, this is the millennial slang coming out of me, but it really is just this presence. It makes your brand recognizable. So then the third step for this plan is to use content themes instead of pillars. And instead of using these rigid content pillars, organize your content into themes. And themes give you the structure while keeping things flexible. Traditional content pillars sometimes can feel restrictive, right? Because if you are a health coach, you're going to talk about exercise, meal planning, and time management. And sometimes you want to say things that are outside of those topics, or sometimes you're just having a lot of fun with exercise and you don't know what to say with time management, but you know that you have to say it. So it just creates this forced approach to social media. Instead, themes allow you to show up in a way that feels natural, that feels dynamic, while still keeping your content focused and on message. Remember, we did messaging on the previous step. So you are going to choose 3 core themes for you. These are going to be the themes, but then you need to decide how they're going to look and show up for you. So first, you're going to have a professional-based theme, and this is more of educational content and authority content that's directly related to your expertise. Then we're going to have a values-based theme, and this is the why behind your brand. This is your beliefs, your behind the scenes, your personal stories. And then you're going to have an interest-based theme. And this is the fun, personal stuff, of course, as you set your boundaries, but this is about your hobbies, the things you love, even random interests like fashion, beauty. If that's something you like, that doesn't mean that you're going to become a beauty influencer, but there's a way to introduce that into your content and have it still make sense for the brand that you're building. This balance keeps your content engaging, making it feel human, and making sure that you never run out of things to post, which is why I love it so much. Then the next step in this plan is to set boundaries. And boundaries are a key to preventing burnout. Without them, social media will take over your life. I promise this is going to happen unless you are very intentional with your boundaries, because social media was designed by people that are way smarter than you and me, incredible engineers, to keep us hooked to the apps. So it was designed to keep us there, to keep us, watching all day long. So we need to create a system to stay in control of our input, like the things that we watch. If you don't create boundaries, you are going to end up feeling like you are constantly on, leading to exhaustion, to inconsistency. Because let's say you think you are just scrolling through your workday, but then you are watching a show at night, and then during commercials, you start scrolling on Instagram. You are going to see the post of another coach, of another expert, of another service provider. And there's like a tricky boundary that gets crossed there, because you're technically not working, but you are, because you are consuming that information. So that's why boundaries are so important. Some boundaries that I really recommend are time boundaries, and this is how much time you're going to spend creating content each week. I really recommend that you stick to it. Also, location boundaries. And are you working on content only at your desk? Are you letting it bleed into your personal time? Like, are you working on posts while you're watching TV. Like, where are you? Or maybe you need to go to this coffee shop and you create this atmosphere where you get out of the house and you are at a physical location doing something different. And then there's also relationship boundaries. And this is amazing. I don't think we do it enough in our personal lives. And this is about who are you engaging with. Avoid energy draining interactions that make social media feel stressful. Because when you have clear boundaries, social media stops feeling like a full-time job. The next step is to create a system that works for you without overcomplicating it. So we've done the foundational work, we've done the heavy lifting, you've defined your themes, you've set your boundaries. You now need a new way to actually create the content without feeling overwhelmed. This is the more operational part of this plan. And if your process feels like a daily uphill battle, you're going to dread showing up. A system makes it easier to stay consistent while honoring your energy. So some questions to ask yourself for this part is decide how often you're going to post. And this should fit your capacity, not some arbitrary rule. Someone said I have to post 5 times a week and I'm posting 0 right now. Like I'm posting whenever I feel like. No. How often will you post and feels realistic to you? Then set a rhythm for content creation. So are you someone who likes to create in the moment? Or you prefer having a loose plan? That doesn't mean that you're not going to have a plan. We work on that a lot. But what is your rhythm? Like, are you a person that is okay with taking daily videos, daily behind the scenes content of your daily walk? Or are you a person who is like, no, I'd rather have a whole day where I'm going to film different shots of me walking, and that's what I'm going to use for the month. Then I want you to select and organize your visuals so you're not scrambling at the last minute. This is something I learned from Santi from Sierra. She's great at having things in folders so you can then go back and find the visual that you want instead of having to scroll through your whole folder trying to see what is it that you want to post. Like that just makes you waste so much time. And for this part, if you're really building that consistency muscle, really forget about strict formulas for caption. Instead, I want you to focus on building a relationship with your audience in a way that feels natural. Not to say that it doesn't matter how you say things, but think about how would you connect with someone in real life if this post was a conversation. If this post was a presentation, if you're very extroverted and you love being on a stage, like focus on that, not on strict 3 tips to blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't think I would say that to someone I meet, I would probably have a conversation and say like, oh my gosh, are you burnt out by content? It's not your problem. Social media is being engineered for us to be on 24/7. Like, don't worry. That's an encouragement post I would make because that's a conversation I would have. And most importantly, stop overthinking. Me. This is me telling you to stop overthinking, like me and my high horse, please. But in reality, you don't need the perfect caption. You don't need the trendiest reel. What you need is consistency that feels good. It is easier to improve from a place that you already enjoy than having to create something completely unrealistic from the get-go and having to stick to it for a very long time. Like, it's so uncomfortable. I'm completely against it. So the final step in this plan is to integrate sales without burning out. Here's the thing. Sometimes I've seen this with so many clients. They come to me. They're like, oh my gosh, I put a post. No one likes it. Like, I don't know how to sell. And then I see they're not creating relationships. They're not having no type of consistency. Their messaging is not clear. And then they wonder why, when they go into a campaign, a promotional period, no one's buying. And the reality is that you need to build this brand content, this relationship, and then integrate your sales period. Once your content feels sustainable, then you layer in sales content. Does that mean that you're not going to sell anything for 6 months? Absolutely not. Like, literally, you can be a month posting and then start integrating sales. You can promote your lead magnets. There are things that we can do, but I want your focus at first to be on building the relationships and the consistency. Like that needs to be your priority. Because if you try to sell in every post, you're going to burn out, you're not going to get engagement, you're going to get unmotivated, and your audience will tune out. And many of you might say, oh, but I'm not trying to sell on every post. Yes, you are. Yes, you are, because I see so many posts saying 3 tips to achieve XYZ, and at the end, book a call. So you are trying to sell on the post. You are creating with an agenda of selling. Not to say that selling is bad. And I have episodes on selling. I'm going to link them in the show notes. And those episodes have been some of my most popular episodes. It's not that selling is bad when it comes with an agenda of, I'm going to give you this quote unquote valuable content because in 2 days I'm going to sell to you. People can tell that that's what you're doing. And there's a time and a place. If you are in a promotional period, I want you to go all in and be shameless about promoting your product. But that's not sustainable. Like that's no way to survive. That doesn't mean that you don't pitch something every day on your stories one way or another, but you need to have other types of content so that when you make the sale or the pitch or the promotion, it feels natural. I don't want to overcomplicate this step. I just want to tell you, focus on relationship building first and then naturally lead into selling. Because a well-balanced content plan makes selling easy because your audience is already engaged. So let's recap. If social media has been feeling draining, here's your no-burnout content plan. Know yourself first, number 1. Build a strategy that fits your strengths. Number 2, define your messaging so you can position yourself in a way that connects with your audience, with the right person. Number 3, use content themes instead of rigid pillars. And this is giving you structure with flexibility. Number 4, set clear boundaries. This is going to protect your time, your energy, your creativity. Number 5, create a simple content system so you can stay consistent without overcomplicating things. And then lastly, number 6, integrate sales at the right time. Focus on connection first. Try this out and let me know how it goes. And if you want personalized guidance, join my free community at ewucommunity.com. I can't wait to see you inside. Un beso. That's a wrap on today's episode. If you loved it, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to a friend who's ready to show up confidently online without the burnout. Remember that sharing is caring. And if you want to make my day, please drop a quick review on Apple Podcasts because seriously, it means the world to know this show is helping you take the stage on social media with confidence. See you back here soon for the next one. Un beso.